Hello friends, welcome to Akulmach. My name is Chandrakant and today we have a very interesting subject to discuss. It's about the Indian civilization. You know that the Indian civilization has been the oldest surviving civilization globally today, and all that is because of the education system that our ancestors derived and implemented to train our society by and large. And all that has changed now because we have a different education system today. But why we would need to go back to the old system is the topic of discussion today. I will bring all these facts, and if you have not subscribed to our channel, I think this is the right time to subscribe. Watch this video till the end, and I will give you all the facts and figures why we need a Gurukul system yet again to be implemented in India. Well, friends, I've divided today's discussion into 5 parts, and I will cover all of these parts one by one with logic and facts and figures. So let's look at the first issue that we face in our India, which is a lot of educated youth, but they are not employable. And because of the education system, there is a lot of competition within India, and there are limited job opportunities. And because of this, almost everyone is educated. Now, if you look at the parameter of education as per United Nations, if you can understand the language, if you can read and write, you are considered to be educated. However, these skills will not give you any sort of employment. So if that is the parameter of education, I think it is completely wrong, especially now when we are moving towards a much more advanced future, and we would need much more than just understanding language and read and write, maybe probably sign your name, etc. We need more skills than these basic skills. And that is where I want to basically talk about a little bit about the current education system. The current education system is based on the European ideologies, which is based on a lot of academics, and because of these academics, people get a lot of knowledge. However, this knowledge is not utilized in generating any revenue, because you have to then pass the schools, you score these marks in the school at certain level. Based on the scoring, you will actually get into higher education, and once you finish higher education, after that you have to start learning the skills which will give you employability. Isn't it true, my friends? If you agree, drop in your comments, and even if you don't agree, send in your comments stating why you do not agree with this mechanism. The current education system is entirely driven by the academics, and very little skills are imparted to children, especially in the schools, which will make them employable. So that is the first issue. Let's understand what are the second point that we need to discuss, and that is about where the Vedic education system excel over the current model of education. So let's go and discuss about that. Well, if you look at the Vedic education system, which existed for last 10,000 years till about 100 years back, and for almost 10,000 years, Indian society, Indian diaspora, Indian rulers, everything was going through this system of education. What it involved was basically a very set guidelines. Once the child has attained the age of 5, he or she is admitted to a Gurukul. Now, Gurukul is not part of the society or part of the city. The Gurukul is managed by a guru or a teacher or a principal of that infrastructure outside the city in a safe location. And probably that area was cordoned off, a large piece of land was cordoned off to protect the disciples from natural calamities or calamities because of the wild animals. So all those security parameters are taken care, and they have to live in this location in the supervision of their teachers. And this is a very serene environment. This used to be secluded. There is no interference, there is no television, mobile phones, no interference by the parents. The students will have only their classmates and the schoolmates and teachers, and every day there will be different types of classes conducted in a very serene and natural environment with physical examples given on the fly. So this is what the Gurukul system was, and all kinds of education was imparted to students, from physics to chemistry to social studies, how to behave, so mannerisms, and also the religious practices, and all kinds of things were imparted to disciples. And when they were living in the Gurukul system, they had to follow certain guidelines and discipline. So right from very young age of 5, they get imparted with this discipline in society. That means you should get up on time, you should join the class on time, you have to do various activities on time, and so on and so forth. So it was this system which was perfected. And Gurukul basically system, which is also known as Vedic education system, was applicable from age 5 to age 15. And when you are out of the school, you can rejoin your families, your parents, and you are now called a grown-up adult who is fully educated, who is also worldly wise, who knows how to do things with his own hands. They will also get a lot of skills, like for example making furniture, or if you are a warrior, then you know how to shoot an arrow, or expert in swords, etc., or spears. This is as far as the protection is concerned. So every student will impart these kind of education. These are extracurricular activities also imparted. And there was education also in terms of skills, in terms of oratory skills, in terms of how do you behave with other people, what is a good behavior, what is a bad behavior, how do you protect nature. So all of these kind of education, which are, or skills I would say, were imparted when they were studying in the Gurukul. So this is just a brief. There are much more detail. So moving on to the third subject, which is why the Gurukul was so special. What was so special in Gurukul? I mean, you can set up the Gurukul system today also, but what is so special in this system which makes it different and unique as compared to the current education system? So let's go and discuss about that. The first difference in the education system of Gurukul, or the Vedic education system, is that there were equal standards for every student. There is no there is no big guy or a small guy, or a student from a rich family, he will get a better treatment, he will be able to buy a chocolate because he has money. None of these things were allowed in the Gurukul. The living standard was standard across all students who are part of the Gurukul. So there was a lot of equality being imbibed in the mind, in the young minds, so that there is no they don't look at the society when they come out of the school by different yardsticks. Now compare this feature with today's system. What happens in today's system is that there are two kinds of large systems, which is public education system and the government-owned systems, and the private systems, institutes. So what happens is that the families who cannot afford the private schools are sending their children to the public schools, basically the government-owned schools. So in this case, the people who have more money will be able to provide better schools, better education, better facilities to their children, because they are studying either in boarding or they are studying in private schools which are providing AC classes and all kinds of expensive sports. When the children come out from these different disparity of schools, then they carry different value systems. And Students who are coming out from the private school carry a certain value systems. Students who are coming out from a public or government schools are carrying a different perspective in their mind, and they are actually handling different issues and all that. So this creates a sort of a non-equal environment in the society. But in Gurukul system, there was no such things like that. Equal amount of education opportunities were given to everyone, and everyone will have to stay in a similar fashion. If they have to sleep on the ground, they have to sleep on the ground. There is no difference between child of a pauper or a child of a villager or a child of a king. They have to maintain similar lifestyle, and there was no special treatment given to any specific student because he comes from a rich background or affluent background. So that was a third difference, and very, very important difference, and that is why the society, Indian society, survived for more than 10,000 years, still surviving. Let's go back to our index, find out what is the third most important difference between Gurukul system and the current education system, and that is the homework. What is happening today is that in case of our education system, it is divided broadly into three segments. You go to the school, you study the school, and so there is a knowledge transfer which happens from teacher to the student, and there is a bit of a classwork given to the student. They finish in the class and then they go home. When they go home, they carry the burden of the school in their mind, and they have to finish certain homework. And the homework is then checked next day by the teacher that have you finished the homework and all that. So what is happening in the current system is that the children are bringing the school back to their home, and then under the supervision of the parent, they have to finish the homework so that they can go back and face the teacher next day. Now, none of this system existed in the Gurukul system. There was no concept of homework. You learn in the class, and if you have a doubt, you address the teacher then and there, and when you go to the next class, you handle some other subject. So there are different subjects, teachers who are training you in the class, and all doubts of the students are asked. In fact, the students were encouraged to ask as many questions as they liked, so that this concept is was clear to them, and therefore there was no homework. There is no baggage that the students are carrying, and there is obviously the parents are not there for 10 years in the student's life, so there is no baggage in the mind of the parent also to make sure that to sit on the head of the child to finish the homework. So that changes everything. I mean, if you think about it, if there is no homework, it changes the whole learning paradigm, and it creates the child gets some sort of free mind to think about other things. Maybe he wants to play games, so he can then divert into something else and start doing those, taking care of those activities. So this is the third most important difference in Gurukul system as compared to the current education system, which was started by the British in India. So let's go to our index and discuss the last subject, which was since our society existed for last 10,000 years, what was the turning point? Why we actually did not continue with the Gurukul system, especially when it was so good? And why did we adopted the current education system which was given to us by British? So I think the whole point is that obviously India was a slave country. There were a lot of invasions earlier from outside and invaded India and then ruled India. After that, the British ruled for good 250 years. So they brought their system of education. So that was the year 1835 when they actually created the legislation to implement their education system in India by law. And all this education system they brought to India, which was highly based on academics and did not because British needed people who could read and write, who could actually balance their book of accounts, who can actually prepare this tedious work of book entries and conduct some survey. So they needed Indians to learn what they were looking for, and hence they made it compulsory for all government jobs, especially for Indians, to follow this academics, because that is what they needed. They did not implement the system with the intention that they want overall upliftment of the society. They actually brought the system which was 100% based on academics, and very little practical knowledge is imparted in this education system. And based on the academics, your marks are given. There is no opportunity for anybody to become a musician, a master class musician, a master class kho player, or master class kabaddi player, or a wrestler. You know, in today's India, because these things are very specialized, the schools have a limited opportunity to teach these skills, which may be very good for certain people, and they can build their life based on those skills, on sports and things like that. Today in India, we have to send our children, if they're good, if they are found to be good in certain sports, to a special schools which are training those sports, or they have to basically try hard and join the academy after they finish the school. Whereas in the Gurukul system, none of this thing was there. So I think the whole current system that we have today was brought in by the British, by the Western society, which is highly woven around the academics, and there was very little provision to provide other skills which are important for building the employability. Even for the Indians today, there is hardly any employability other than the certificate of the school is provided, and everything else has to be learned on the job. So that is why we have these issues with the companies, where the temporary jobs are given initially when you are a young and you are learning the job. Ideally, if you finish the school, you should have learned everything, and then from day one you are employable. If you are expert in certain things, school should be able to give you certificate that this student is expert in making balance sheet. This student is expert in basically talking to people. He has excellent auditory skills, language skills. This student is a good writer. But none of these things are given as part of the school certificate. So you need to develop these skills after you finish your education, which takes a lot of waste of there's a lot of waste of time. It takes a lot of time to build a career. So that is why when I started my conversation today, I mentioned that you are highly educated, but you are not employable, and that is the drawback in the current education system. And I think we need to think about bringing our Gurukul system back into the mainstream and make that as the system which will take Indians ahead than rest of the world, because at very young age you will be trained in various aspects, and when you are out of the school at the age of 15 or 16, you are straight away employable. So friends, this is what I feel. I like to know your comments, your thoughts on this subject. As always, thanks for watching, and I will catch you again in the next one.